Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan. As we're filming this, the 2020 NFL Draft is 206 days away, but it's always draft season here at the Touchdown Table. So we know it's early, but we're just going to talk about some draft prospects that have caught our eye early in the college football season, whether it be someone that we think could be a top notch or someone that can maybe go in the mid-rounds and be a sleeper. Whatever it may be, we're going to be talk about some guys that have really impressed us in the first month and a half of college football. So, let's get started. Who'd like to start us off?
Jordan, I'll let you start us off.
I'm not ready yet.
Hey, that's okay.
All right, Ryan, you start us off then.
Okay, well, you're probably not expecting me to start with an offensive lineman, but that's what I'm going to do because Andrew Thomas, the left tackle out of Jordan.
Thank you.
Yeah, out of Jordan, his college. Andrew Thomas, the left tackle out of Georgia. Not you, don't get a school named after you. He is really a guy that I have just been very, maybe you will someday when this channel becomes famous. He is really a guy that I have been impressed with every single time I've watched him on tape. He's been a left tackle pretty much for the entirety of his college career, spending that time protecting Jake Fromm's blind side. He's a great run blocker, wins the point of attack. It's honestly hard to find a con with this guy, but I think the one thing would be his upper body strength at times. Excuse me,
I'm not sure what's going on here, but
his upper body strength at times does show a little weakness, and he kind of overuses his legs a little bit, and that kind of results in him maybe falling over or missing a block. But honestly, this guy is the best tackle prospect in the draft. I've seen mock drafts with him going in the top 5, and especially with how many quarterbacks are getting injured and hit, I don't see any reason why he can't be a top 5 pick. You know how high I was on Jonah Williams last year when he was coming out of Alabama. I think Andrew Thomas is better than Jonah Williams. Andrew Thomas is absolutely the best tackle in the draft right now. Keep an eye on him throughout the pre-draft process.
all right. Well, I'll go next. I have one quarterback that I do want to talk about, but we don't want to just base this video solely off of quarterbacks because it's obvious who the top guys are going to be, and they've been talked about for a while. So I'm going to the running back position. I'm going to a school that has had so many running backs that have been so good in the NFL. RBU, baby. Going back to it with DeAndre Swift at Georgia. This guy has been doing it all this season. I mean, I think he has the potential to be the next Todd Gurley or the next Nick Chubb, bringing those guys in. Sony Michel, I think that's probably the most accurate one to look at. He'll come into the league and have that type of effect on the game, whatever team he decides to go to. He has great power at the line of scrimmage. That's what I've seen. He's 215 pounds. It's not necessarily a huge running back, but you'll see on his highlights, and even not on his highlights, you can still see him getting through the line of scrimmage. He's very similar to kind of like a David Montgomery type of running back, where you'll see he's not necessarily breaking tackles, but he has good vision. He can get to the right spots where he can wiggle his way through the offensive line and get big yardage plays. That's just the type of things he can do. I would say one bad thing about him would be just his vision once he gets past the line of scrimmage. I feel like after that, then he kind of just starts to run sideways, and he needs to go more north and south and a little less east and west, because he tries to make these big plays that can cause things that are bad to happen. So that's really what I want to say about DeAndre Swift. But I do think this guy has great potential for the NFL.
Yeah, where do you have him right now? About mid-first round, or where are you looking after him right now?
I would say probably maybe 15 to 20 right now.
Seems reasonable. Jordan, you ready?
I guess so.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna stick with Georgia here. Or we're gonna branch out. Let's see what you got.
Well, I don't see why not, right? So we're going to Jake Fromm.
Right.
We're going all three Georgia prospects.
They got a lot of good prospects this year, and pretty much every year. So tell us what you got about Jake.
Well, first of all, I don't know much about draft prospects yet, keyword yet, because I do plan on studying it more this year. I didn't study it very much last year. I did mock drafts and stuff, but I watched players, and I plan to do that, but I have not done it yet. I probably should do it, but I always forget about it. But I do know some of the guys. I know the quarterback, so I can talk a little bit about Jake Fromm. That Georgia team is all three guys that we've all mentioned. They're looking pretty good, and what are they at? They're at 3?
Yeah, they're 3 in the nation right now.
So, I mean, that's kind of on both sides of the ball, like very, very well done. But they've been getting the job done. Jake Fromm, he's looking good. He's leading that team. Although he's dropped a little bit, I think that he's going to be pretty good this year.
So, all right. So we got all 3 of us have Georgia prospects that have caught our attention, and I would think that's shout out to that Georgia program because they're going to be a contender this year. So, Tyler, want to go back to you?
Sure.
Right,
we can go back to me. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna I wanted to talk about one quarterback here. Not necessarily at the top of the quarterback rankings. He's near at the top. I think a very underrated player, and that is my friend. Not my friend, but I really like this guy, Joe Burrow for LSU. Now I like LSU as a whole, as a team. I've liked them for a couple years now. They always have great prospects coming out of there, and of course Joe Burrow. I mean, just if you can look at a picture of him, he just looks like a good quarterback. I mean,
He does.
the first time I watched LSU this year, they were playing. The first time I watched them live, they were playing against Texas. So it was like I wanted to see Sam Ehlinger play. So I was like, okay, Joe Burrow. I mean, but then he came out and he was on fire, and he's been ever since then. He's been making the throws. His accuracy is something that I want to point out. You see a lot of accuracy from these other guys. Justin Herbert has a good arm. He's pretty accurate as well. I think his accuracy is on par with something like Justin Herbert. Now,
Big statement.
It is. I think that he has that type of potential, but the problem with him is that he's a little bit of an inexperienced quarterback. So while in the pocket, it can affect the throws that he does make. But when he does make throws, they're on target. But sometimes this takes a little bit too long. Something like Mitchell Trubisky does in the NFL, where it's just he needs to get a little bit more comfortable with the offense. But other than that, I think he's got a good arm. Not the best, but it's a solid arm. Good decision making. Just got to think a little bit faster. Great accuracy. A lot of good things from Joe Burrow. I'm excited to see where he ends up going in the draft this year. I think it could be a lot higher than people are expecting.
Yeah, he is a prospect, Joe Burrow, that is. He's a guy that's certainly been on the rise ever since that Texas game you mentioned. LSU's got some tough opponents ahead, so he's going to have even more chances to prove himself and maybe put himself in the as high as mid-first round conversation. So, now I'm going to say my second prospect, and I'm staying in the SEC, but I'm going away from Georgia. I think actually everyone we've said has been in the SEC. But a guy that has really caught my attention is Henry Ruggs, the wide receiver out of Alabama. When people think of Alabama draft prospects, they're probably going to think of Tua Tagovailoa and Jerry Jeudy, the other wide receiver, which, for good reason, I think those two could very well both be top 5 picks in 2020. But Henry Ruggs, what you need to know about him, he's fast. The 40-yard dash record is going to be in jeopardy at the Combine this March if Henry Ruggs does it. This guy, I feel like he's almost getting overshadowed when it comes to talk because everyone's talking about Tua and Jeudy, which, again, those guys are great players. But while Jerry Jeudy, I do think, is the best receiver in this draft right now, Henry Ruggs is not far behind, and he is absolutely the number 2 receiver. He is fast. He's really a downfield threat for Tua down there. Whether it's a deep fly route or, honestly, a lot of his plays, it's a short pass. It's honestly 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, but he has that speed and that athleticism to make it into a long play. There was one play I was watching against South Carolina where it was just a simple slant right across the middle. He was able to outrun the whole secondary and get into the end zone with ease. This guy's got some of the best speed you will ever see, and some of the best speed that I've ever seen for as long as I've been watching football. So as soon as he gets to the NFL, he's going to be given a lot of secondary some problems. He's a guy that I think could make an instant impact in the NFL. He's just very impressive. He's got the hands, the athleticism, but the speed is the thing that's going to make Henry Ruggs a potential top 10 pick in April.
Yeah, that's a good point. When we were talking about him, I said that he's kind of very similar to Paris Campbell coming into the draft process. So far, Paris Campbell has not lived up to the expectations of where he's been drafted. But I think it's mainly the speed that puts him at that point. And as Ryan said, it's the speed that makes him such a good prospect.
For sure. Jordan, ready for your prospect number 2?
Yes, I am. I'm going to talk a little about J.K. Dobbins of Ohio State. Now, he's not, top 2. He's probably 3, 4 at running back ranking as of this moment. But Dwayne Haskins leaves Ohio State, so he's got a little bit of a role to fill running the ball. So, and he's been doing a pretty decent job so far. He's dropped a little bit, but I think he'll be able to build that back up. He reminds me a bit of Ezekiel Elliott, who also came from Ohio State, so it's going to be interesting to see what he could do. But I'm just really high on him. I believe that the NFL will be suited for him, and I just think he's NFL ready. I don't know what exactly it is that I see in him, but when I've watched him,
feeling?
Yeah, I just have that feeling that he just seems like he's going to be pretty good, and he's shown us so far. So we'll see what J.K. Dobbins can do. Hopefully, he can climb up that board for my sake and for his sake as well.
Yeah, Tyler, you ready for your third and final?
I am. I'm going to the wide receiver position, switching all three positions, starting with the running back. I'm staying on offense here because defensively, I'm going to be honest with you, I've not looked very much into defense. I've been kind of focusing on the offense and college football-wise for prospects. So I'm going to be going with CeeDee Lamb. Now, not only because his name is cool, I mean, the last name is Lamb, but of course, playing on this Oklahoma team that had Marquise Brown on it last year, he was the one that got most of the attention, while CeeDee Lamb was there quietly. This time, it's CeeDee Lamb's time to shine. He's the sole receiver there, or like the mainly featured one. He's 6'2", 189 pounds. Those are that's pretty good, pretty ideal for a wide receiver standpoint. I mean, he's not the tallest guy in the world. You'll see other guys that 6'3", 6'4". I mean, he's not someone that you'll see going up and get balls every single time, but he's a guy very similar to Marquise Brown that can go, is great route running, and that's what I feel like makes a difference for him. It's not him contesting balls like we saw from N'Keal Harry out of college last year. It's him being able to get to where the ball is, and the vision as a wide receiver. People forget about that. You have to know where the ball is and understand what's going to be going on. He makes it so much easier for that entire offense to function because of how ready he is for that ball to come to him.
Yeah, so for my final prospect, I'm going to highlight a guy who actually, obviously I knew who he was, but he really didn't immediately come to my attention until after the Ohio State game against Nebraska, which obviously you can guess he's on Ohio State. I'm going with the cornerback, Jeffery Okuda. He is a guy, he's not really well known. Like, you look at some of the big prospects, you think of the quarterbacks, the defensive ends. He's not really well known, but I think he definitely has first round potential because he's already got 3 interceptions this year. 2 of them came in that Nebraska game, which was OSU's most recent game. He's really an athlete. He's got a really good job of knowing where he is on the field, anticipating the routes of his receivers. I think he's definitely in a first-round conversation. I know it's still early in this process, as we've said multiple times through this video, so we're not really it's hard to kind of place grades on people that we know will stick, but I think he's definitely in first-round consideration. Ohio State has a history of producing really good defensive backs. I mean, I don't know if they're quite DBU, but they've got a lot of good defensive backs that come out of there. I mean, you look, Denzel Ward, he went 4th overall. And he's doing nice things. So and also Lattimore and some other guys too. They got a good history of producing solid secondary players from that university. And Jeff Okuda, he's just coming onto the stage at the right time because 3 picks this year. He's already got. Let me just check here. I think he's already got 13 solo tackles, and college football's only been going on for a little bit over a month. This guy's an athlete. He's a great player. He's got the instinct and the athleticism. Rare combination. He's got first round potential. Keep an eye out for him this draft process.
All right, my turn now. I'm going to go with another quarterback here since I know a little bit about him. I've watched a little bit about him, and then talking about Jalen Hurd of Oklahoma. Now, first of all, Oklahoma quarterbacks have had some success very recently, of course, with Baker Mayfield, number 1, and Kyler Murray, number 1 overall. So, and please don't jump the gun and think that I just said that he's going to go number 1 overall, because I would no way he's going number 1 overall.
He's playing good so far.
He's played very good. He's making a push for the Heisman Trophy. As of this point, there's people who could argue for it. Do I think he will get it at this point? I'm not really sure. Never been in. I don't really know what it takes to get a Heisman Trophy.
Who thought Kyler Murray was going to get it last year?
Good point.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see what he's done, but he's played pretty well. He's not the biggest quarterback. He's 6'2", but even with size, people like Drew Brees, and we'll see what Kyler Murray can do, but they show that you don't have to be huge to have some success at the quarterback position, so it'll be interesting to see what Jalen Hurd can get done. But that Oklahoma team, it's well coached. It's just a good team all around. It's always pretty good up in the rankings. So Jalen Hurd trying to climb up the draft board here.
Yeah, that connection between Jalen Hurd and CeeDee Lamb could be something huge this season. And it's been a pretty good connection so far.
Jalen Hurd has put up great numbers so far, and he's definitely in the Heisman conversation early.
For sure. I think that's very interesting how you mentioned the Heisman thing and the first overall thing. There's a lot of hype for Oklahoma fans saying that he could have this potential. Of course, playing well so far, but I don't see him going first overall at this point in the draft.
No.
First round,
No, possibly, yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
good quarterbacks in this draft that you have to
Yes.
leapfrog between now and April 23rd.
It's one of the best quarterback drafts we've seen in a long time, I would say.
Yes, I totally agree.
I mean, other than we could talk about 2 years ago, that was a good draft as well.
Yeah, that was.
But I think this draft is arguably even better than that draft.
Yeah,
Than this draft, that draft class.
I think you have an argument. If things go well, you could have maybe 3 guys possibly go in the top 10, and maybe, because you know how teams aren't afraid to reach for quarterbacks, we could honestly possibly have 4 quarterbacks go in the top half of this draft. But obviously, there's some things that got to pan out before we can commit to that statement.
Of course, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this new type of video.
Yeah.
We have not talked about college football in a long time.
Draft season never sleeps.
Oh yeah, we're always ready. You know, this is a football channel. It's not an NFL channel. It's the touchdown table. There's touchdowns in college football too. So we're talking about that as well. We don't just want to mention the NFL in every single video. Of course, this does have implications on the NFL, which is why we're doing this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you get some new viewers watching this, some college football viewers. We enjoy this. We're already excited for the draft. As Ryan said, it's 206 days away and we're all ready for it. Jordan not so much, but he'll get there. No problem, man.
He knows this stuff.
He does. He does a good job. He did a good job. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video. Comment down below who we missed, because there are a lot of guys that we did not talk about.
It's hard to choose just 3.
Yeah, and we didn't choose like the top prospects. We just chose prospects that were like catching our eye, someone you didn't expect to be, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that was a pretty fair judgment. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. And we will see you guys later.
See ya.